Hello guys, third video from me tonight. We're looking at Affliction Warlock now. Alright, Affliction Warlock. So, I mean, out of the 3 specs so far, I mean, for me, again, I mentioned all my other videos, immersion's everything. You know, when you first play World of Warcraft and you create a character and everything else, you know, you go into more info and you read the box. And you think, you know, what is me? What do I want to play? So immersion for me is everything. Now the immersion of demo was really good. Immersion of destruction was really good. A few slight changes to Affliction. It's not as clunky feeling. One thing which I hate about Lock during Legion, especially with demo and Affliction, was how much literally you're just maintaining things. You know, with Affliction you're mainly maintaining your dots constantly, just rotation, which, you know, for some people enjoy. I don't, but. And then with demo, it was always summoning a pet, buffing the pet, summoning another pet, buffing the pet, foul kills, consumption. It was boring gameplay. You know, they've got rid of most of that, to be fair. There's some nice talents at the moment which, you know, can buff different styles of play. At the moment, for some reason, if I go to the specialization box, we've got Drain Soul here, grayed out. I'm assuming Affliction gets it. Currently doesn't have it on the beta. So, you know, we're just filling with Drain Life at the moment, but yeah, you need Drain Soul really. Anyway, so talent wise, we've got the first tier here. Shadow Bolt applies Shadow Bolt applies Shadow Embrace, increasing the damage dealt to the target by 3 seconds. By 3% for 10 seconds, stacks it 3 times. Alright, so every Shadow Bolt you're doing, it's maintaining this this debuff, which increases your damage. Right? Stacks up to 3 times, so it's a 9% damage buff for 10 seconds, which in my opinion is rubbish when compared with Haunt, because Haunt does additional damage, but then it increases damage dealt to the target by 10%. You know, so it's 1% more than 9, obviously, and it lasts 15 seconds on a cooldown of 15 seconds. Yeah, exactly. So it's not like Shadow Embrace is a global buff; it is only affected by the target. So for me, Haunt is the better pick out of the two. However, Death Bolt's quite interesting. This is a new one. You launch this Bolt of Death at a target. It deals 40% of the total remaining damage of your damage over time effects on the target. Counts up to 16 seconds of Corruption's damage. Now, obviously, that's there because I've taken Absolute Corruption, which is where it is permanent, which, you know, I figured would buff Death Bolt. But of course, because I've taken it, Death Bolt's tooltip has upgraded. You see, if I don't take Absolute Corruption, it doesn't show it on the tooltip, whereas if I take it, it's now there at the bottom. So for me, the build I'm going is with Haunt, Absolute Corruption. However, from a PvP point of view, I will be taking Death's Embrace because it just increases that much more, you know, the damage that much more when they're below 35% health. It's your execute mechanic. So if someone's a low health target, you're doing so much more damage to them, finishing the kill basically, because Affliction has no execute. Which, to be fair, demo doesn't and destruction doesn't really, unless you talent to Shadow Burn. But anyway, the other talent on this tier is Writhe and Agony. So it stacks up to 15 stacks now. The Agony does, makes it last a bit longer. But to be honest, if you're pretty hot on it, you will just refresh it before the stacks duration is complete. So Absolute Corruption and Death Embrace. Death Embrace means the winner there. However, you can go a build around Death Bolt, which I'll get into in a minute. 45 tiers, exactly the same on all the Warlocks, same as live, nothing has changed on this tier. You've still got Dark, still got Burning Rush, and you've still got Demon Skin. I apologise if it seems like I'm rushing, but I've been through this twice now. It's the 3rd time. Number 45 tier has not changed. Number 60. So you see the Corruption now embeds an additional target, additional nearby enemy. Phantom Singularity hasn't changed, so you put it on them, it does damage, it heals you. Soul Harvest hasn't changed either. It's, from live, increases the damage you do and your pet's damage by 20%, lasts 4 seconds, increased by each target with Agony on them. So you can have a longer duration if you're multi-dotting, which, to be fair, in an arena point of view, you've only got a 12-second buff there, unless you're dotting pets as well. So for me, Phantom Singularity will win there because it's just guaranteed healing, makes it easier on your healer, means you can CC, blah blah blah. Again, talking from a PvP point of view here. PvE, you multi-dot to your heart's content, and you've got a 36-second, you know, buff there. So that's a really good DPS cooldown for you PvEers out there. Anyway, so 75 tier, same again in all the other Warlock videos. Dark Fury, because every Warlock now gets Shadow Fury. which is a stun on a 60-second cooldown, AoE. Dark Fury just reduces it by 15 seconds. However, you would take Mortal Coil or Demonic Circle because it's extra CC or escapability. For me, it's always Mortal Coil because you've got the stun anyway. Why not have a bit more CC? Because I don't see the point of reducing it by 15 seconds. If it reduced it by 40 seconds and made it a 20-second cooldown, that might be a little bit different, but 15 seconds just does not warrant, for me, the justification of taking that talent. Level 90 tier, Nightfall. Corruption damage has the chance to cause your next Shadow Bolt to be instant and deal 25% increased damage. It's okay. Shadow Bolt really doesn't really do anything. Doesn't exactly generate your soul shards. Same as live. So for me, it's like meh. All right. However, this one, I mean, at the moment we've got a coming soon, so we don't know what that's going to be. This one though, same as before, but it's still quite juicy because it's still quite high damage. Again, numbers could change, but at the moment the damage on this is very, very juicy because obviously you lose your pet, but you get the ability. So, for example, if you've got your Fell Hunter out, which is the one I'd always sacrifice him, you get the Spell Lock ability, so you're basically a mage now with counter spell. But also all of your dots have a chance to deal additional damage. I mean, 537 is quite high. I mean, that's an unstable affliction. Look at that. That's 1500 damage on a soul shard burner. This thing here is potentially doing another 500 damage on top. Again, numbers could change, but currently it's OP. It's quite nice. 100 tiers, pretty much the same. Soul Conduit, exactly the same on live. Siphon Life, exactly the same on live. Does damage. It's an extra dot. However, if you're going into your Death Bolt build, where you've got that additional damage or the remaining damage over time effects, you take Siphon Life because it will incorporate that in its damage buff when you're casting it. However, for somebody like me who's going to mainly do PvP, for me, I think Haunt, overall damage buff, extra damage, Death's Embrace for that execute kind of feature, but then Creeping Death as well. Now, it means you have to be a little bit more hotter on your agony uptime, but it's dealing much more quicker, and with Creeping Death and Death's Embrace, you're going to be having a quicker dot, doing more damage. So for me, those two work very, very well. So overall, it's pretty much the same, really. There's not a lot of great changes. I mean, you're not going to really get this from Battle for Azeroth because they did so many changes in Legion, and every expansion they've done so many changes, and it's got to a point where, you know, Legion actually isn't that bad. Warlock for me, the two specs, Affliction and Demo, they were just really clunky. It was always a case of I like the idea of Demo, I like the idea of Affliction. I mean, Affliction for me reminds me of, you know, that Reaper of Souls dude off Diablo 3, you know. Malthael, that's it. You know, this guy that basically just touches you and you just melt. You know, that's the idea of Affliction for me. You just, this dude that just kind of just drains everything out of everybody. You know, how typically what Warlock is. You know, if you back in vanilla lore, but now they've removed a lot of the clunkiness. So you know, it's fairly nice rotation. I mean, you've still got your soul shards. You're still applying all your dots. So we do corruption. We do an agony. You apply your stable affliction. You do your haunt, and you drain life. You know, and you've got a lot of different visuals. The visuals for Destra especially have been really changed. They're very, very tasty. Drain life's got a new visual, I think, as well. So it's purple here. It's green at the tip of your fingers, which is quite nice. Corruption hasn't really got much. It is a change actually, but there we go. Agony, same animation. A stable affliction, you put that on someone, you can really see unstable affliction, to be honest. It's massive and purple and nasty. And then you've got haunt, which again, same animation. So affliction feels very much the same. It hasn't really changed much. See, the corruption's the same as well. But that was always affliction, though, isn't it? You apply your dots and you fire and forget. You know, you fully dot someone up and you move on. You do it against someone else. And then when a target's near death, you start draining souling, or you drain soul from your fillers. Shadow Bolt, I think it's still a cube. Yes, there you go. So if you like to throw ice cubes, then there you go. You see an ice cube, it just looks like a box with loads of squares on it. So that's quite fun. Anyway. So yeah, for me, the three specs, I mean, there's going to be some hardcore affliction lovers out there. I know you're out there. So if you are one of those people, you're not going to be, unimpressed with the changes because they're pretty much the same. There's been a couple of interesting talent choices with Death Bolt, where you can, in fact, I'll just show you what that looks like actually. See the animation for that. Death Bolt looks like this. So there you go, 2 damage. So, and you've got your 25-second cooldown. So potentially, with your Siphon Life and everything else up, it could do, you know, a substantial bit of damage. We will just take Siphon Life actually, just to test that. So we'll just stick it on Fear for now, if you don't have Fear. That's not a damage over time effect, is it? No, it's fine. So that's up, so we'll just do that. Get all the dots up. Do a Siphon Life. So all 4 of my dots are up now, and I just do a Death Bolt and just 1700. What does the Shadow Bolt do? 1500 crit, so 700. So in the world of massive, you know, because all the numbers have been nerfed, but that's not massive, I don't think. Again, the gameplay idea behind it, you know, it's quite interesting. It gives you that kind of edge of if you load them up and then you just Death Bolt them and it does quite a bit of chunk of their damage. Destro has a similar talent with where you can Chaos Bolt them and it will eat up some of your Immolate that's on them and consume it and do the additional damage. So I like where they're going with that. It's almost like Burst. But gameplay wise, prefer Haunt, prefer Death's Embrace, prefer Creeping Death, because it just means that your dots are, you know, ramping up that much quicker, and then when they're low health they're just doing that much more damage. So Affliction for me has always been this, if you leave them alone you don't notice it happening, you know, especially in a 3v3 situation where you've got, you know, I have an old teammate who used to call Warlocks the Ringmaster, because they were these dudes that literally just kind of sat back in the shadows, so to speak, and if they weren't being, you know, trained by a melee and they just dotted everything up, you just rotted. Your health bars were just going down, 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 and then as soon as he popped his Dark Soul or whatever and just drain soul, he could drop someone really easily, you know. So for me, the lore, the immersion about Affliction Lock hasn't changed. It's still enjoyable to play. For me though, a matter of opinion, I love Destro and I love Demonology. I love the changes. Be sure to check out my other 2 videos on Warlock. This is my last video on Warlock. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Please, again, any criticisms, any advice you want from me for my videos, I will gladly accept it. I started doing this for my mates because I'm the only one out of my group of mates that has beta access. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in another video. I'll be doing all the classes, all the specs, and then I'll be doing a playthrough of the Battle for Lordaeron, and eventually, you know, in-depth looks at the new races as well. So I hope you've enjoyed Warlock, and I'll see you again soon.